Hey there folks, Rel here. Today we're taking a look at the AF-4A Bandit carbine for the new Conglomerate. We're going to break down the specific stats, compare it to other weapon options, give you some pointers on how to use it most effectively, and hopefully help you decide whether or not the weapon will fit your personal playstyle. Throughout the video you'll see me referring to the GD7F, which is your fast-firing close-range carbine, and the AF-19 Mercenary, which is your default starting carbine. The Bandit is basically a cross between the two of them, with some added upsides and downsides thrown into the mix. The Bandit deals 167 damage up to 10 meters, drops off to 112 at 60 meters. Now this effectively drops the weapon 3 damage tiers over its fall-off distance, which is indicative of close quarters carbines. The Bandit has access to soft point ammo, which will increase that maximum damage range from 10 to 15 meters, and for the purposes of the following calculations, we're going to assume that you have it equipped. So, soft point ammo, up to 15 meters you're looking at a 6-shot kill. A 7-shot kill goes out to 34 meters, and an 8-shot kill goes out to 49 meters. Anywhere beyond that mark is a 9-shot kill. By comparison, your starting carbine, the AF-19 Mercenary, starts at 167 damage up to 10 meters and drops off to 125 over 70 meters. So its 6-shot kill ends at the 10 meter mark, but its 7-shot kill carries up to 44 meters, and anything beyond that is an 8-shot kill. As you can tell, even with soft point ammo, that's a pretty significant schism in shots to kill based on the ranges at which you're fighting. So basically anywhere past the 34 meter mark, the default Mercenary is going to be more effective at taking down targets on that basis. However, the 40 meter mark is basically where both weapons start to become inaccurate anyway, which means that you're going to be requiring some bursting. The Mercenary still has faster bullet velocity, has a slightly tighter aim down sights cone of fire, but the benefits really aren't that consequential, especially compared to other weapons that are meant to fight over longer distances. But from a statistical perspective, the solid conclusion leads to the Bandit not being able to fight at the same ranges as its bigger brother. Instead, it's going to trade some of that damage per bullet for a number of benefits that help it specialize at closer ranges. The Bandit fires at 632 rounds per minute, or 10.53 rounds per second. Your standard Mercenary carbine fires at 600 rounds per minute, or an even 10 rounds per second. Now the difference here is not very significant, but at least it is something. To match it against your other close quarters carbine, the GD7F fires at 845 rounds per minute, or 14.08 rounds per second. But it is also a 143 damage carbine, not a 167 like the other two. If you break down the flat theoretical time to kill at point blank range, all shots landing on the chest, and assuming that bullet travel is instant, you come up with this. As you can tell, even though the GD7F is only a 143 damage carbine, its extremely high rate of fire gives it a lot more kill potential in close quarters, but the Bandit does not trail too far behind. The Bandit has 30 rounds in the magazine and 150 in reserve. Unlike the GD7F, each shot is going to give you a lot more bang for your buck, as the damage per magazine is a cool 5,010 over the GD7F's 4,290. This is extremely useful in a realistic setting, as the higher rate of fire and lower damage per bullet might lead the GD7F to dump an entire magazine on a couple of targets, whereas the Bandit would be more prone to having rounds left in the chamber against the same two targets, allowing you to more easily stay within a short reload. Speaking of which, the Bandit reloads at 2.68 seconds short and 3.07 seconds long. The short reload is a little bit shorter than the GD7F's, and the long reload is also a little bit longer than the GD7F's. This goes back to the damage per magazine thing, but there's a definite emphasis on getting your short reload as often as possible. It has a very low projectile velocity of 440 meters per second. This makes sense, it's a close quarters carbine, and it's going to make it much more difficult to track moving targets at longer distances. But I guess that we should talk about accuracy for a bit. The Bandit recoils straight up with some left and right horizontal shake. If you take the Mercenary's first shot recoil, the vertical recoil, and the horizontal shake, then make all of it just slightly worse, you're going to end up with the Bandit. The Mercenary also has a slightly more accurate cone of fire while aiming down sights, but this bonus only lasts for the first shot anyway. The difference in recoil properties between the two weapons basically cuts the Bandit's effective range by about 5 meters or so in actual play. And just to define the term effective range in the context that I'm using it here, I'm referring to subjectively the range at which you can drop a target in 7 shots without letting go of the trigger or otherwise burst firing. So from personal testing, that's about 30 meters with the Bandit and closer to 35 with the Mercenary. Beyond that, the horizontal recoil and cone of fire forces you to let the weapon settle and burst your shots. One undeniably useful trait that the Bandit has is a 0.75 times movement speed multiplier while aiming down sights, and this is extremely useful for peeking corners and strafing to avoid incoming enemy fire, and is the only NC carbine with access to this trait. When it comes to hipfire, the Bandit has the best cone of fire in its class, as well as access to an advanced laser sight, which is going to narrow your hipfire down to almost SMG quality, but not quite. Generally speaking, higher rate of fire weapons are better in CQC situations. The main reason is because target acquisition is much more difficult in hipfire range, as a couple of steps left or right could move the enemy across a quarter of your screen. So if you're just holding down the trigger while you're trying to track your target, the faster bullets leave the barrel, the more likely you are to land a hit. That's not to say that you can't or shouldn't hipfire with the Bandit, but doing so will just require a bit more precision. As far as attachment options go, the Bandit has access to scopes 1x through 4x, including night vision, but does not have access to a 2x reflex. It can equip a flash suppressor and a standard suppressor, an advanced laser sight, a forward grip, a flashlight, and soft point ammo. For the scope selection, I suggest getting either a night vision or a 1x reflex, and it should probably be the first thing that you unlock. The iron sights are okay, but I'm not a huge fan. I think they obscure your vision a little bit more than they should, thanks to that thicker outer ring. I also wouldn't equip a flash suppressor on this weapon, but I don't mind using a standard suppressor just due to the higher 167 damage value. Your effective 6-shot kill potential becomes almost non-existent, yes, but you will be sitting on a reliable 7-shot kill at the weapon's desired range. If you're not a light assault or otherwise in a position to take advantage of concealment that a suppressor could provide, then don't worry about equipping a barrel attachment at all. The flash suppressor is not a horrible option, but unlike most weapons, you will feel the effects of a flash suppressor messing with your cone of fire, especially if you're seeking out headshots, which the Bandit can do surprisingly well. To build on the weapon's potential accuracy, I suggest going for a forward grip instead of the advanced laser. The cone of fire with an advanced laser is good, the attachment works, and I do use it from time to time, but the weapon just does not perform as well from the hip as other close quarters options. This is due to the lower rate of fire. If you pick up a forward grip, it'll go a long way toward eliminating some of the unpredictable side-to-side recoil while aiming down sights, and you'll still have a reasonable hipfire cone by default. Lastly, soft point ammo is a must. The extra 5 meters to your maximum damage range will not only extend your 6-shot kill potential, but it'll also slightly move the rest of your kill ranges out as well, which is going to give you a little bit more versatility versus nanoweave armor or heavy assault shields. That said, let's get into weapon-specific strategy. So the Bandit is first and foremost a close-range, aim-down sights weapon. The recoil pattern is decent, the movement speed multiplier is good, and the damage drop-off is too quick to be competitive anywhere else. That being the case, aim down sights whenever possible and aim at the upper chest. Outside of about 15 meters, the Bandit's first shot recoil multiplier is going to ensure that a shot at the upper chest means that the next round goes into the head. From there, you can drag straight down on the mounts to compensate for the recoil and keep the weapon aimed at the upper chest again. I don't say to go for headshots specifically because unless you're within about 10 to 15 meters, the weapon has moderate side-to-side recoil, moderate bloom, and past the first couple of shots, it's simply more trouble than it's worth. As a reminder, stay within your effective range. For the Bandit, the accuracy starts to get a little bit loose around 20 meters, but is workable up to 30. That's also the range at which you're working your 7-shot kill. So a general rule of thumb is to try to keep your engagements indoors and work the longer hallways. With the way that most buildings are laid out in PlanetSide 2, it should let you fight from where the weapon is at its best. Slice your corners while ADS. Rounding corners slowly while aiming down sights is going to limit the angles at which enemies can fire on you from, and the moment that you see an enemy, you want to stop, try to take them down, instead of just rushing around the corner and engaging like so many of us tend to do. Given that you have a nice movement speed multiplier, if you start getting fired upon, you can bop in and out of cover quickly enough to minimize damage taken and still execute on the kill. Overall, I think that the Bandit is a very good weapon, but I'm also not entirely convinced that it's worth going out of your way to purchase. If the GD7F is too unwieldy for you, then the Bandit is a good close quarters alternative. If you love your Mercenary but would just love it more with 0.75 times ADS movement speed and soft point ammo, then the Bandit has your name written all over it. But if you find 1000 certs hard to come by, or you usually find yourself fighting beyond maybe 20 meters, the playstyle difference over the AF-19 Mercenary is very minimal. Like I said though, just to reiterate, the Bandit is a good weapon. It feels good, performs well, but whether it's worth picking up depends entirely on the range of your engagements and how tightly you hold onto your certs or station cache. If this video has been interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and if you have any thoughts on the AF-4A Bandit, how it performs for you, whether you feel like it's worth trading into over your default, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm interested in your take on things. Thanks very much folks, we're all signing off.